This is God's money. It was not printed. I always say to American audiences, if you can print it, I don't want it. If you can, a stock certificate, I don't want it. Can you print this? I don't want it. It's that simple. I just know this is God's money. This is God's money. It was put here by God. Bitcoin, is the blockchain technology. Blockchain makes it valuable because it got integrity. I don't care what they're doing. I want to know what you're doing. So I'm doing this.
Yeah.
So when I talk to my friends, I say, how much of this have you got? And how much of this have you got? Most people have a lot of this, or debt. I'd rather have this. So the end result of buying property is to get back to this.
Yeah.
And pay no taxes.
And how old were you when you became a millionaire?
I don't really remember. It wasn't even in our minds. My best friend and my best friend in 2020 sold his company for $2 billion. Since I'm a property guy, I didn't sell my properties. But we were just best friends. America is about to crash, as you know. We're in serious trouble. Our debt is at an all-time high. America is now the biggest debtor nation in the world.
Wow.
Worse than Japan. So Japan has high debt, but the Japanese people are rich because they save. Americans are in debt, the country is in debt, and we have this guy Biden putting us more in debt. The first thing that Biden did when he came to office, I'm an oil guy, I went to school for oil. I drove tankers with Standard Oil. First thing that Biden did was he cut the Keystone pipeline. The pipeline ran from Canada all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. When he cut that pipeline, that was Biden did. Trump loved it. But when Biden cut it, I was selling oil for $30 a barrel when Trump was in office. When Biden came to office, oil went to $130 a barrel. That sent inflation through the roof. It wiped out mom and dad. Today, the spooky thing about the world economy is the gap between rich and poor getting wider because people are working for this and not this and this here. So the question I ask people, which is a better investment? Gold, silver, or paper? I was flying in Vietnam. I bought my first gold coin. I paid $50 for it. So it was 50 of these for one of these. Today is $2,200 for one of these. If you're going to be a rich man, or a poor man, a rich man, your end game is gold. This has been money for centuries. This is silver. It's the better investment today. In the US, it takes 35 of these to buy one of these. So I tell my brothers and my sisters and all that, hey, trade this piece of toilet paper in for this. Oh no, Dave Ramsey said save money. And my family's broke. But they follow my poor dad. They go, I have a master's degree, what do you have?
And a master's degree can get someone 100,000 in debt, can't it? Bad debt.
I'm $1 billion in debt.
You're $1 billion in debt.
Because debt is money. It happened in 1971. President Nixon took this, separated them. So what became money was a US bond. Now, Dave Ramsey and most of these financial planners down in the City of London and they recommend buying bonds. Bonds are the worst advice possible. They think bonds are safe. But now that interest rates are going like this, see, when interest rates goes up, the bonds come down. So today, the US Federal Reserve President, Chairman Powell, he's raising interest rates. Bonds are coming down. Our banks are crashing. When our banks crash, they can't lend this out. And when they can't lend this out, the economy crashes. So the people who will win are people who have gold and silver. And mommy and daddy who are saving this will be wiped out. Because to save the world economy, as you know, the US is going to print trillions of these. Inflation is good for, look at this, okay? The first one I ever bought was in 1972. Paid $50 for it. I still have it. It's in a vault in Switzerland. It cost me 50 of these. Today, that same, if I pulled it all to the vault from Switzerland, it's a South African Krugerrand. If I held it up here, it'd be 2,000 of these for one of these. You want to get back to this. For thousands of years, you know, I bought my first gold mine in Peru. And so I was in Fiji for rugby again, and I met this American guru. He was a Hindu. He had gold all over him. So I said, what's this white guy dressed as a Hindu with gold dripping all over him? So I had to ask him a question. I said, why do you have so much of this? He says, because gold is God's attractor. Gold is God's money. He says, the more of this you have, the more wealth it attracts to you. So if I want $1,000 of income, I buy a couple of these, one of these, you know. More gold attracts wealth. So I just start collecting this. So the question, I'm here in London to teach, everybody can do this. This is 35 bucks. The question is, how do you go from this to a gold mine? That's what an entrepreneur does.
Right.
So once I understood this was the objective, I started going for gold mines. I used debt and real estate. What I do is, let's say I buy a property. Here's a property, I buy it. I finance it. Then we refinance it, we borrow out the equity. With the refinanced equity, I bought the gold mine.
Right.
And guess what pays for the debt? This. And I still own the gold mine. And that's why I went to tons of gold. It's all finance. Taxes are incentives. In other words, if I went down to Goodwill, a church, the government wants me to donate money to a church. So if I donate this to a church, it's a tax write-off. So taxes are incentives to do what the government wants you to do. So the people that pay the highest taxes are employees and doctors and lawyers. The capitalists don't pay taxes. There was a book I wrote called The Cash Flow Quadrant, ESBI. E's pay 40% in tax, S's pay 60% in tax, B's pay 20%, I's pay 0. I used the profits from my real estate to raise $2 million to buy the gold mine. The average person, well, I can't afford it. They can afford this. They cannot afford the gold mine.
Yeah.
The entrepreneur can afford the gold mine.